Welcome. Name is Caesar Plays, and today, as you can tell from the title, I'm going to be reviewing the Chainsaw Man Reze arc movie. Um, wow. This movie was this is a special thing for me. I have to put this out there that if you're here for a very objective review of the movie, like cinematics were like this, music was like this was like this, is you're not gonna get this. This is gonna be a very personal video, actually. It may be a very very long one. I do have a lot I want to say about this, and not just because the movie came out for streaming recently, but also because I've been wanting to talk about this movie for the very longest time, and it is easily like one of my favorite anime movies of all time. Period. I can't say if it's my favorite anime movie of all time, but it's one of, because it does hold a special place for me, just because of multitude of different reasons. Now, now, first of all, let's get started with this. So again, if you haven't watched the movie, it's on Crunchyroll. Maybe up to for digital to purchase. I'm not sure, but it is a super fun movie if you're into action. It is very action heavy, and unfortunately, it is recommended you kind of watch the first season of Chainsaw Man for you to kind of understand what was going on with this, what's going on in this movie, and the power scaling and all that, and the idea of like certain elements that they go into the movie. Not all the time. Not It's not the main focus of it, but certain things that get spoken about in the movie. I refer back to season one stuff. So that being said, let me start off this overview, this last talk, yeah, of Chainsaw Man, Reze Arc, the movie. Now, when this movie came out in October, in October 22nd, 2025 last year, for me, like I said, this is a very personal thing. It's just I just happened to leave a job that I worked for 9 years, and I just have in October. It was around October, November, I think, that I started in this new place, in the city, in the city, and for those of you that know the movie, you understand why I just laughed at that. Um, and it was this big step for me after 9 years working at a place, like going and doing something different. So my schedule was being put together. I kind of had the hours that I knew I was going to be working consistently, and for a while I did know that I wanted to watch the movie when it was going to come out. I was looking forward to the Rezi arc for the longest time. I've reread the volume multiple times. It is one of my favorite arcs in the Chainsaw Man series, easily, simply because I love the concept of the arc, and Reza is to me such a fun character as well. And I recall even watching season one, and with I think it was with old friend of mine, and by the time that we got to the last episode, and you hear Reza talking about the country mouse and the city mouse. And the voice actress, I just snapped and I just flipped out just because I was like, oh my god, they're teasing the Reza arc, and I wasn't sure what was going to be the plan. Are they going to make a full season out of this? Are they going to combine this with something else? And I think making a movie out of this was the best choice. I think it was the smartest decision to do so, simply because it is a rather condensed arc, and it would have been maybe it would have filled up maybe like a couple episodes, but then I think if you started the next arc, which is I think the Assassin's arc, which they already teased as well, then they would have had to have cut through it like halfway through to give themselves room to breathe. Those poor mappa animators. Um, so I happened to be working on a Wednesday. It was on my Wednesday morning opening shift, so that was perfect for me. I happened to get a message from Fandango like a day or two before the movie came out saying, "Hey, we know you're a fan of Crunchyroll. Know you love anime movies. Do you want to go to day one screening of the Reze Arc movie or not?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah!" Like, oh yeah, like like the opening of day screening, like they were giving you the opportunity to buy pre buy tickets, and the ours was perfect. Like I think they were screening it at 5 o'clock or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, and I finished my opening shift at 3 p.m. So that was perfect for me. I was already in the city. I found an AMC theater nearby that was gonna be perfect for it. A beautiful AMC theater where I was gonna be able to watch it. And as soon as I got off work, I went there directly to see like, hey, I don't have anything to do for 2 hours, and I don't feel like really spending money on going out to eat somewhere. So let me see if I could just hang out over there. I got my phone charger. I can kill 2 hours of time. When I got there, the receptionist told me that I couldn't hang out there. And out of pure coincidence, I just asked them, hey, do you guys happen to have the Puchita popcorn bucket by any chance? And I know I'm super early. I know you guys are not gonna let me in right now, but if you do, is there any possible way that I could go buy one? Because I know those are gonna sell out like crazy. I know there's scalpers out there, and I just really want it for myself. So the receptionist told me like, "Yeah, give me a second. Let me go check it out." Came back, told me like, "Yeah, you can go upstairs." So I went up, got myself the Puchita popcorn bucket. It's excellent. It's beautiful. Puchita is great. Um, but they still told me that I couldn't hang out there for 2 hours, so I had to walk around the city 2 hours long with a Puchita popcorn bucket in my hand. And the guy who sold me that actually in the second floor, he was like super cool about it. He was like, hey, if you want to, when you come back 2 hours from now, just let me know because that comes with popcorn included, and I know you're not gonna eat it right now in the city, so like just come to me specifically and I'll make sure you don't have to pay for your popcorn. So that was like super cool on them. Now the movie itself is just I had certain expectations simply because one, Studio Mappa, so they've been killing it with the animation side of things. JJK, Vinland Saga, um, Chainsaw Man, and a big gripe that I had was that they had switched directors, and the whole thing, the whole debacle was that season one was not well accepted and well received in Japan, so Mappa was not fond of it. I think the director stepped away and is not even working with Mappa anymore. I think that he's doing something else, and I got a little upset about that simply because I really liked the season one direction, and I really liked the style that it was put out. Even though some people felt it was boring, apparently, like I loved it. I felt like it created a certain atmosphere. Everything from like the snake devil, the way it was presented, to the obviously the CGI was not something I'm super crazy about, but the overall aesthetic and feel felt very unique and raw, and it felt suitable and fitted for the world that it was in. It felt very cinematic. So going into this movie with a different director, I was iffy about how things were gonna go, and I'm not even gonna lie, like I wasn't upset. I felt like it was a nice transition. It still felt similar to the first season with some clear changes in more in color grading and certain directorial styles, but it was very, very nicely presented overall as a movie. A word that you're going to hear me say a lot throughout this video is going to be the word beautiful, because I do think this is a beautiful movie. I think a lot of aspects that could be interpreted or taken in a certain manner, like naked bodies, or or let's say naked bodies, or certain over highlighted colors, or let's say I don't know, like just the amount of the amount of action and blood that's on in display, it doesn't change the idea that this is a beautiful movie. That's what I'm trying to say. And it can get very, very dark at the same time, but and gory, but at the same time it's still beautiful in a way. um the idea and the conversation of country mouse and the city mouse, it's such a beautiful metaphor. I absolutely love everything about it. I love the I love the idea that I love the expression behind it. Like which one are you? Like somebody asking you that question for the first time and you having to give an answer to it and define yourself as to what kind of person you are. So that's why I chuckled a little bit earlier too with the idea of like, hey, now I'm going into the city now. It's a little bit different than what I'm used to doing. Um, and and that's where it hit a little bit home too. Like where you start taking like, because where I am right now, it's a little bit of I'm not saying it's a real world, because, but it's it's definitely a different step, a different direction, and a more like survival mode kind of thing. And even though I've known this story and this arc for a very long time, to see it animated and hearing that question again, it just made me think at least about a lot of different things. Um, I think that question, that metaphor being brought out not just through Reze and Denji, but also through Angel and Aki, that metaphor being put on all these other characters was nice and beautiful. I think this is also a beautiful way of displaying Denji's growth, even though that we know he doesn't change all that much. Unfortunately, Chainsaw Man Part Two showcases that he hasn't changed all that much. I think that it's for anybody else or any youngster, this would be a story of growth as well. Like he's experiencing these things, like the idea of loving two people at the same time, or being having a crush on two people at the same time, the idea of getting your heart broken, um, the idea of wanting people to love you for who you really are, and the idea of still caring enough about them to, even after them hurting you, to still wanting to be with them. it's it's There's a lot of layers to the movie that I guess are very subjective, because I don't want to speak like I know Tatsuki Fujimoto like on a personal level. Like I'm not sure some of the things that he put out, or wrote, he did it with intention, and we're just reading too much into it or interpreting things in a certain manner. But the complexity of the movie, I feel, really depends on who's watching it and who takes something from it. A scene that I always go back to a lot of times, that really just changed the whole type of perspective for me when it came to art as well, was Daredevil season one, Netflix Daredevil season one, the very first series. Uh, it was Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin, and he was staring at this canvas of a white painting, and the art dealer Vanessa, who eventually becomes his wife, my spoiler, she asked him like, why do you see something so important in this? And he was like, I'm gonna buy this, whatever the price is, I'll pay for it. And it was like anybody else who would see that painting as a plain white painting, but for him it shared a very deep and personal history, which I'm not going to go into. You go watch the series yourself. It's a good series. But it had a core memory in him. Just I'm saying all this to just try and make the point that the movie could be interpreted very differently by a lot of different people based on how they approach this movie. And for me, it came at a certain time in my life. I was already hyped about it, and as you can tell, like I have a lot of love, and I see a lot of beauty in this flick, in this movie. A lot of things that I could talk about, a lot of things I probably will talk about. It's only 15 minutes and I haven't even gone to the plot all too much. Um, but and I'm talking about a lot of superficial stuff and very objective stuff. But I've seen people down talk this movie, saying like, "Oh yeah, it was just it's just action movie with a woman that show her tits and a guy who just wants to get laid," and that's like the part that's again it goes back into the whole complexity depends on who's watching kind of thing, because like I'm gonna talk more about scenes that really shots in the movie that really stood out to me. But again, I'm not gonna talk about this right now. But the pool scene between Denji and Reze, even though it's two naked teenagers in a swimming pool, it is displayed so beautifully in a romantic kind of love atmospheric way. It's not like, yeah, you see Reza naked on the by the pool and Denji like butt naked like jumping into the swimming pool and they're like having fun, but that's not what you stands out on the scene. What stands out is like the music, the colors, the shots, the perspectives. Like that's what stands out to me. And you're not looking at this as like two horny teenagers playing in a pool. No, you're looking at this as like an experience that they're having, a beautiful moment that they're having together. Um, so you get to ask yourself too, like towards the end, like what if Rezi left with Denji? What would have happened? A lot of what ifs. I recall that this movie also. I know there was this huge debate, like which one is better, the Infinity Castle or Reze arc, and I don't know. I can't really say one above the other. But I think I'm just gonna be very biased and say that the Reze arc just had a more personal, a personal. It touched me in a more personal manner. The movie, and I'm not. That's not. I'm never gonna take that. That's never gonna. No one's gonna ever take that away from me. The character designs, I'm not gonna go too much into it because a lot of people have spoken a lot about them. I think Medi, not the villain, he goes deep into like the Reze character design, and it's like he does it exceptionally well. The bomb devil is so good put together. A beam reminding me of the Junji Ito series is on some really crazy, scary kind of style. The Typhoon Devil being this huge baby with his guts hanging around and just creating typhoon catastrophes. Like it's just so out of this world, and I never understood how Tatsuki Fujimoto was able to think of these designs and all these devils and their style and the way they were all put together. Like it's just super interesting for me, and I, as somebody who loves and appreciates art too, like I cannot wrap my head around like how he does this. Um, so um, that aside, I do have to point out that the movie does have a lot of also little cool references to movies because Tatsuki Fujimoto is a big fan of Western media, and you can tell clearly from season one, Chainsaw Man's opening, um, and and sorry, and you could really tell that the references are there. Like look it up online. You're gonna see a couple like there's reference to Constantine, No Country for Old Men, Battle Royale, Leon the Professional, like very iconic movies, and some movies that people may not have watched. I watched all of those, and so it was. I didn't pick up on it right away, but after seeing like the references online, it was very nice to like put two and two together. I do want to say another thing, like the shots that stood out for me, which I really wanted to go into as well. Um, the scene of the murder, like that was some very horror type of stuff. Like the way that scene was set up when he's talking to the Typhoon Devil and he's talking about the victim and what he did to them in that room, the black coloring, like everything from like the background noises of the woman like trying to struggle her way out to him, his voice, and then the actual fight scene between Reza and him. It was so well put together, and just again, bless you, whoever animates effing rain, because the rain during that fight scene, and also the way that, and everyone talks about this, the way that the way that that Rese flickers her eye when, like, when the mood swing is gonna happen. It's it's so well. It was just so beautifully animated. The animation in this movie is beautiful, and the direction, again, it's somewhat resembling the season one animation, but at the same time is slowly diverting away from it and doing a little bit something slightly different while still keeping to the aesthetic of the Chainsaw Man um, aesthetic that I wanted to see. Um, but everything felt so cinematic in such a good way. Again, I spoke already because I have my notes over here. I spoke about the pool scene. The pool scene was just drop dead beautiful. Then the scene between Reze and Denji talking by the fireworks, the celebration, all absolutely super beautiful. Reze versus the Division Two squad. Holy crap, that was so good. um, and I just love the Division Two squad, how casual they are, and they how like one of them was trying to hit on her, and just Reza being a monster. And I looked it up online. There's a one shot where she kind of comes out of the dark with the black background, and you see just the bomb devil's face pulling through the darkness. And someone pointed out that that looked like a xenomorph scene shot. And yeah, no, it very much looks like that, and I wouldn't be surprised if it had some form of references to it towards it. Plus the way she was like hanging on the ceilings and all that. Reze is a busted character. The Bomb Devil is a busted character. Like, they needed to handle her this arc, and Makima, like, spoilers, but Makima needed to take care of her because she was a problem. Like, she was super OP. Um, OP and close to, like, I want to say the future devils that you're gonna see as well. Like, but wow, like, and just the way she utilizes her power. Again, going back to like this whole Denji's growth kind of thing. Like, she's the one telling Denji, like, you gotta know how to play with your powers, and you see her using her bomb powers in all kinds of ways, throwing her head around, like throwing at some point when she's fighting Denji. I think she left her finger behind on one of his chainsaws, while she was far enough to just let it explode from far away, flickering bombs at people. Like, there's, or I mean, when she's fighting, going back to the Division Two fight, when she when the Division Two, I guess they used what was it, the oh, there was the devil that leaves fungus or something like that inside their body. I forgot. Sorry. And she's like, "All right, this is dangerous." So she cuts her head off, and the Division Two captain is like, "Yo, can you put like fungi or moss in her head?" And he's like, "Not if she's dead." And then you realize that the body throws the head at them, and then the body regenerates to the, well, English, the body regenerates to become the bomb devil, but at the same time the body is sentient enough to throw itself at somebody as a bomb and act as a bomb. Like, it's, yeah, it's nuts. Like, the way she was transporting herself with explosions, and not just her legs but also her arm explosions, some Bakugo stuff. um I have to point this out too, the Reze versus Denji on top of the bus, and you hear the heavy metal rock track from season one playing in the background, which I genuinely love. It caught me off guard too, not in the movie, but when I was watching the different endings. A lot of those songs I really really like, and that one was like this heavy metal J rock. Um, that I wasn't expecting to like as much as I did, but then you have like the female vocals hidden, and you're like, yeah, this is it, yeah. Um, Another shot that stood out for me was Denji versus Typhoon Devil with on top of Beam, and I think this was the moment where he was about to give the Typhoon Devil the final blow, and you see Chainsaw Man approaching the Typhoon Devil, and for a split second you get Denji's face through the helmet, and I think that shot was super sick, and it just caught my attention the second time watching the movie again. The Reze versus Denji fight again in the pool of blood, just the animation and the aesthetic of like them fighting inside this river of blood was so well done. Reze punching Beam while Beam is protecting Denji inside of him, and doing some Hokuno Ken, some Fist of the North Star kind of like do, 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 and like all the blows just holding back and exploding all at the same time. Crazy. Um, and then the the Reze versus Denji fight at the end where they where they end up like falling deep in the water, and again Denji playing around like learning from this fight and being like, all right, I'm gonna use my my chainsaws to like use these as cords and like um um pull and bind people together, pull her together so she can't move, immobilize her, and bringing her down to the water, saying like your bombs can't explode underwater, right? Something I forgot to talk about, but that contrasting also the whole moment that they had when, not the first time that they met, but the second time when they met her at the cafe where she's working, and just that getting together, that whole socializing and him realizing how much she ends up liking her, and that moment when they're bound together after that big fight, and coming to accept what is going on right now, what the outcome of this has to be. um it's all very personal and emotional, because he just fell for somebody. He had genuine feelings, and he was not constantly in conflict with himself of like, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? Like, I love two people right now. And do I go with this? Do I go with her? Or do I go with her? And Reze offering, like, let's leave, let's go away, and her realizing that that's never gonna happen because Makima has him in her hands, and therefore just sticking to her plan, her original plan of having to kill him and get the chainsaw devil's heart. um it's like, it's not just on Denji's end but also on her end, like having to accept like that it hurts, because there is this theory, and I'm not sure if it's been approved or not, but like there is this theory, at least that I've read while even before the movie came out, of like Denji was going, no, sorry, Reza was going there to kill him in the phone booth, and then she realized that he was a kid, just like her, and that's where you get the whole classroom talk and her reaffirming with him while they were in the cafe talking, of like, it's not normal that you as a kid are put to do all these things. You should be going to school, you should be having a good time. And I actually, even though I reread the story multiple times, I actually stopped reading it when I found out that they were making a movie of this, because I wanted to go as fresh as possible to watch the movie. And I actually forgot that she never went to school. um that was like a important detail that I completely forgot. I knew she was an assassin, I knew she was taught to be an assassin, but I just completely forgot that line. So when she's talking to him about like, oh, in the school, in the classroom, when she's trying to teach him the school ways, and he's like going along with it, and I'm like just blindly accepting that, like, oh, that's cool that she's teaching him all this. And then when um they're at the beach after the fight, and then she spares her life and offers her to run away with him, and says he'll protect her. And she kind of just refuses it, and he tells her like, I'm gonna be waiting for you there at the cafe, like, I'll be there, Like you will be able to find me there if you plan to run away with me. And then the heartbreaking moment of like you see her making the decision that she was actually going to do it. And um and in a way, like I didn't go into it too much, but Angel has his own little arc in the movie as well. So Angel getting his payback in a way by stabbing her through the heart, and cutting her, I think her arm or leg off, forgot which one. Um, and Makima coming in to intervene with Danji's happiness, which is a foreshadowing for something in the future. It sucks because then you get the line of like, to be honest, Angie, like I've never been to school either, and when I saw that again, that just struck me on a whole different level. Like it broke me, like it broke my heart hearing that and seeing that in front of me. Because like I said, I forgot about that part, so it hit me on a more emotional level, which leads us to the ending of the movie where post credit scene, you know, like you got Power jumping in, who was absent for the movie for a good reason. I think be letting Power be left out of this arc was important because she brings a certain form of fun chaos, which I don't think was necessary for this arc. I think the arc was perfect for what it is and where it was going and where it went. Now, you can't talk about this movie without talking about Kenshi Yonezu's music. Iris Out was brought into the official Mappa channel a day before the movie came out. I watched that on my iPad like 4 times at least. And I'm like, this song bangs. The visuals are amazing, are super fun. But to see Iris Out with that sequence, the montage, to see that in a movie theater with other people who love the series, and in a huge screen with beautiful with Dolby cinema stereos around me, like just blasting the song, it was a whole other different experience. Um, and then also, and I didn't pick up on this. I didn't pick up on Jane Doe the first time the movie played because I was just so overwhelmed with the experience that I just had watching the movie and seeing the credits roll that I didn't really pay attention too much to the song. But um, I thought about the movie a whole lot that same week after I watched it, and the whole experience of it, of watching that movie. Um, and I believe that Kenji Yonezu brought out the Jane Doe music video as well. And I had around that time in October, sorry. Yeah, November, October, I had around that time just dealt with something um, personal with somebody, which is why which resembled in its own way, it resembles certain things that the lyrics bring out. And someone pointed out in the music video of Jane Doe the line of like, the comment was, and I forgot which one because a couple people have repeated this comment by now, but someone said, I love the contrast between Iris Out and Jane Doe, where you have in Iris Out the lines, in this world right now, you're my one and only perfect answer. And Jane Doe's line being, let's fill this world with mistakes. And that hit super hard on a personal level, as in, I don't know where life is gonna take you or I don't know where life may go or needs to go, but right now this seems like the correct thing to do or to go for. And then throughout your journey, maybe understand like this was a mistake, but being so in love or just being so mesmerized with what you already have had or have, that you don't care and you're just like, let's do it again. Even if this was a mistake, let's continue filling this world with mistakes. I think that's a very beautiful way of subjectively looking at these songs. And it made me also listen to Jane Doe a lot more, and it's right now one of my favorite tracks out there of all time. It's just I have my playlist on Spotify of songs with for a certain mood, and that's one song that gets played oftentimes. Um, and back and forth 1 second. Uh, and the back and forth between Hikaru Utada and Kenshi Yonezu, it's just so beautiful when she's like trying to leave trails for him, blood footsteps, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and like he's looking for her, and like this, the song is beautiful, and just if you can, don't just listen to it, but also read the lyrics. I think they're very impactful if you're into that kind of stuff. Um, and Iris Out itself is such a great song. It's a pumped up song. They're very contrasting songs from one another, um, but in a way they kind of fit so well together as well. And it's fun too. And I seen someone on Twitter pointed that out. I think I posted it actually on my Twitter account. Uh, that the cover artwork for Iris Out is actually the top of Reze's. Let me see if I find it over here. I'm not gonna put it on the screen, but I just want to. The top part of Iris Out's cover is Reze's face, while the Jane Doe cover art is actually her feet, if I'm not mistaken, and it's all part of one image. Um, uh, 1 second, where is my? But yeah, so that just I'm not gonna waste too much time on this, but yeah, so it's beautiful. Like again, like it was a very, it hit me on a very personal level, and I just I love this movie. I love this movie so much. I cannot stop talking about it to people, recommending it to people. But at the same time, I'm very much aware that I'm very much aware that it's not a movie for everyone. Um, if you don't, yeah, right here I have it. Iris Out, it's Reze, and Jane Doe is her feet, and um, yeah, this movie is just such a beautiful masterpiece in my opinion. It's a beautiful movie. Um, Thank you for sitting through these past 40 minutes with me and listening to my blabber. If you love the movie yourself, I please tell me in the comments down below which scenes like stood out the most for you. Tell me if you agree or disagree with some of the stuff I've said in this let's talk in this overview. And please subscribe, like, hit the comments, like whatever, like you know the spiel, right? Subscribe, like, follow, comment what you thought about the movie yourself. I'm keeping an eye out for season 2 of Chainsaw Man, because the next arc is going to be really fun too, and still full of heartbreaks, but yeah, no, I needed to make this video. I wanted to do this for the longest time, and I feel like after the movie came out, I believe yesterday on Crunchyroll on streaming, I think it was an excellent time for me to finally make time and uh, talk about it. So, with all that being said, you guys know the deal. I'll see you guys another time, and have a wonderful evening or day, and take care. Bye.